Oz. Hey, thank you guys for coming tonight. To students at Hope, welcome. So excited to see all of you amazing human beings. Let's check out what is on Is This Real Life today.
George, you got a gift. What's in there?
This guy owns a monkey, a
What
real
is
monkey
that?
named Curious George. He bought him a
Open it
mattress.
What do you think, George? George, it's a bed.
Curious
George.
Look at this
George,
face.
what do you think of your new bed? Ooh,
Oh,
organic
my word.
cotton. George, what do you think?
The eyebrows, dude. And then he does it. Oh, so epic. How many of you want a monkey now?
George, we gotta get him to the bed.
Every single
Here, George.
one. We need a Students at Hope mascot, and it can be a monkey now.
A hammer.
He's feeding him popcorn. He's actually
Remember
watching
that one?
himself, his own TikToks. Inception
There you go.
to TikTok within a TikTok.
Ooh, it's a nutrition bud.
Cuter than I expected, I'm not gonna lie. All right, what is next?
Stop drinking milk, Anthony! It's literally straight up milk. You don't even put anything in it. You don't even put anything
His
in
face.
it. Like cookies. You don't even put anything in it. You don't even put strawberry stuff or chocolate
stuff.
or anything.
Strawberry stuff or chocolate stuff, because I would.
Then go buy some. Stop drinking normal milk. Are you a criminal?
The only word he comes up with, are you a criminal? Oh, I love this. I have watched this, no joke, 50 times at least since you sent this to me. That was a submission from Judah. If you can, submit your TikToks to Students at Hope, and I will watch them for hours on end. Are you a criminal? I love it when he's like, will you put strawberry stuff or chocolate stuff? I would if I had some. Go buy some. Roommates, am I right? You gotta love them. You gotta love them. That's my favorite new video in recent memory. All right, what do we have next?
Is that exciting to you?
Yes.
I'm pretty stoked too, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, here we go.
I'm not a lie, Daddy.
You what?
I'm not a lie.
You're not a lie?
No.
Okay.
I'm taking this, Daddy. Hey, look, Daddy. Hey,
You
Daddy.
sure? What, baby?
How you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good actually. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. Is that the cutest thing you've ever seen? She just completely mimics her dad, and he's like totally a skater. Like, what are you talking about, girl? I love it. I also have this photo that just had me rolling. Me sliding the straw in and out of McDonald's cup. So true. Oh, just let it, Steve. Just let it roll over you guys. No, that is this real life today? Well, hello again. Thanks. Invisible man over here, okay? Or dead man. Can't find me, I guess. Okay. Now, let's get pretty serious, guys. I'm very excited to introduce Brandon Muck tonight as our guest. Yes. Yes! The opposite of invisible. They want you. They don't want me anymore. Okay, I'm going to do a little intro here. Tell me if I'm lying about anything, okay?
All right.
Little intro for you guys. So Brandon here is a videographer. You work with Brittany back there.
She's my boss.
What's that?
She's my boss.
Oh, the boss.
I work for her.
the wife too, but also the boss. And yeah, check these guys out on Instagram. I'm very much admiring your guys' stuff. Shout out your IG handle, Brittany. All right. So look that up right now. And Brandon, what's your IG?
Muck Brandon, creative.
I like it. This guy should be your marketing director. So that's what these guys do. Excited to have them here tonight with their Fellowship of Christian Athletes group. Holla. Or at least a few of them, right? Stand up if you're part of the FCA group here. There's a couple of you guys tonight, yeah? Yeah. Thanks for welcoming them, guys. And also, you're an English teacher at North Ridgeville High School where you're coaching this FCA group, right? Awesome. I haven't lied so far at all. Very excited. Speaking of FCA, the whole FCA is going to come and do a FCA takeover on a Sunday night on March 28th. Write that down right now after you find Brittany and Brandon on IG. Write this down. March 28th, that's our Sunday night, same time, 6:45 to 8. They're actually going to lead us with the message and with the games and et cetera, et cetera. They're going to lead all the elements of our worship service, and we're going to get to receive from them. So I'm very stoked to have them do that. And now I'm going to interview Brandon because the point of the Through Their Eyes series is I want to invite leaders up here for us that not only you guys, but I can glean wisdom from and leadership ideas. You guys are the next leaders, right? You're the next leaders of faith, hope, and love. We want you to follow Christ, and we want you to be influences of his in our world, in your workplaces, in your schools, all that jazz, right on? And so we want to know about life, faith, and leadership through guys like Brandon, who's clearly modeling that kind of lifestyle, following Christ in these things he does, even in videography, even as a teacher in the public schools. I think it's awesome to hear from people like this. I want to hand the megaphone to a guy like Brandon in our world so that we learn these things, right on? And I want to read from Matthew chapter 25 before we really get into the interview, but that'll launch us into it. Matthew 25 is all about faithful service to Christ. And we'll have these verses up here, but if you would like, because they are very small, because I wanted to put the whole parable, the whole story that has been rocking me lately from Matthew 25 up here. So if you have 20/20 vision, you'll see it. If not, please look it up on your app or your Bible if you brought it. I can see it very well up here, but you might not be able to. So Matthew 25, this is all about faithful service to Christ, okay? I want us to have a faithful service to Christ, not only on a Sunday when we're here at church, but when we're out of here, right? And the story goes like this, Jesus speaking, Matthew 25, verse 14. For it is just like a man about to go on a journey. He's talking about the kingdom of heaven. He's talking about faithful service to Christ. He's giving an analogy. It is just like a man about to go on a journey. He called his own servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, depending on each one's ability. A talent was not like the talent you have, like a singing talent, right? This was a piece of currency. It's giving them 5 pieces of currency, 2 pieces of currency, or 1, depending on each one's ability. Then he went on a journey. Immediately the man who had received 5 talents went, put them to work, and earned 5 more. And in the same way, the man with 2 earned 2 more. But the man who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. He's going to find 2 of the 3 have doubled the money, and 1 has just hidden their piece in the ground, right? After a long time, master comes back, settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 talents approached, presented 5 more talents, and said, Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I've earned 5 more talents. And his master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Share your master's joy. The man with 2 talents also approached, and he said, Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I've earned 2 more talents. And his master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Share your master's joy." The man who had received 1 talent also approached and said, "Master, I know you. You're a harsh man, reaping where you haven't sown and gathering where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid and went off and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours." His master replied to him, "You evil, lazy servant, lazy man." Right on cue, Claire, as if you were part of the message. "If you knew that I reap where I haven't sown and gather where I haven't scattered, then you should have deposited my money with the bankers, and at least I would have received my money back with interest when I returned. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have more than enough. But from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him." Now, the reason this story has been rocking me lately is it shows me that God is pointing to an idea for us here. It's not about the talents. It's not about God giving us some money and then putting it in the bank. This is about God giving us a gift, maybe even giving us a talent, as the word we know it to be. Giving us a gift and giving us also free will to decide how to multiply our influence with Christ. He is giving you guys a gift, if you don't know that yet. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to creatively express who he is? Right? If you don't know that yet, if you're here and you haven't heard me say that, or you're coming here for the first time tonight, we talk about on Sunday nights, we come here to think about God, and then he created us to live a creative life to express who he is. You get to do that however you want, this parable is telling us. You get to live your life however you want and multiply the gift God has given you. And so what I see just from afar and knowing Brandon and Brittany just for a short time is that you're creatively using the gifts that God has given you to multiply your influence, to love people, to serve people, and to be in service to Christ in these areas. So that leads me to my first question with you. We mentioned that they do videography and photography in a variety of ways, but mainly weddings, right? Imagine you're stoked to tell the love stories of people that God has given a love story to, right? So how did you and Brittany discover the love for photo and video, and then muster the courage to pursue it more as a lifestyle and making a living, representing Christ in that?
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awesome that you guys do this. So the reason that we first started getting into photography was actually Brittany was a hairstylist. She's very artsy, so she was always going to do something creatively. Me, I was more of the dumb jock, and I had to find my way creatively. And the one area that I am good at artistically is putting videos together and being creative that way. So she was working in a salon when we were dating, and then when we got married, I told her that I don't want her rubbing people's feet anymore, because that's what she was doing half the time in salons. She was in these really high-end salons, making good money, but not something she wanted to do forever. So bought her a camera. She spent probably 2 years learning and growing and perfecting the craft, and about year 3, she started her own business, and then just by word of mouth, things just started getting more and more busy. And then when COVID hit, actually, about a year ago, she was so busy that she was extremely anxious and stressed about the whole thing. So I was like, I'm a professional emailer. I email all the time. Let me just take over your email. And that just went, that blew it up, because I was responding right away, responding to, and following up on emails, and then I found that most clients wanted a videographer. And when I was in high school, I took a videography class, learned how to use Adobe Premiere Pro, and then it just kind of transitioned pretty seamlessly into me working for Brittany Joy Photography. So
Right on.
that's kind of where we're at now.
Customer service was the the catalyst.
I guess,
The
yeah.
emails.
I enjoy it. So
Yeah.
that's for us. It was all just worked together really well.
Dude, I love that. As a Christian, you should be the best at customer service. Look at Chick-fil-A. We were talking about that earlier, right? No. Christian chicken, am I right? All right, let's. I did steal one of your Instagram drone videos because Brandon likes to play with the drone. Let's throw that up real quick.
I learned that.
Right on. I love that. I love that you guys are creatively, holistically doing what that parable says, using the creative gifts that God has given you to multiply what he's given you, multiply into others' lives, right? You're so holistic, like you're using your gift to bless people who are given the gift of their love story. I think that's really cool. I'm sure there's so many opportunities to love and serve people in the service of Christ there. And on the other side of things, you're also a Christian leader and a teacher in the ways of Jesus and a teacher in a public school. So how do you navigate that? You know, running the FCA, also being the English teacher, what are the challenges? What are the joys of doing that?
Yeah, so for me, being a public school teacher, there's obviously, you just have to be careful. But I think that fits my personality really well because I've always been a little bit of a rebel. So as I'm teaching, I'm always looking for ways to throw the gospel in, to especially an English lesson. You talk about 18th, 19th century literature. That was a highly Christian society. So just a few weeks ago, I talked about hell with my students because we were reading Dante's Inferno. So it just works really well. Even the principal was in on that. I was getting observed that day, but just hearing all of their perspectives. And that's why I love doing FCA, is because I find who the Christians are. Like I had Peyton in class his freshman year and just casual conversation. You're a Christian? Come to FCA. Claire, I've known Claire's family for a while. I'm not really sure how I first invited her, but then when I have them in class, then I'll pose a question, say it's about hell, whatever, and then I kind of look at them and direct a question towards them and give the students a chance to do the Christ-like thing and share what they believe and give them that platform. And then if this is for, who's in public school? Who out there is in a public school? Okay, a good amount of you. So what a lot of students don't know is the teachers aren't allowed to talk about their faith if they're the ones that take initiative. But if students ask the teacher, then they can talk. So I always try to figure out who my Christian students are, and then if they ask me a question, then I can share what I think. So I always push that out to my FCA students because I'm not the only teacher that's involved with FCA. There's like 4 or 5 of us.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like the main one, but they'll come and participate or cover for me if I can't make it. So I think that's my biggest joy, is giving high school students the opportunity to speak about Christ and God in an environment that isn't God-friendly. And then obviously for me to be strategic in how I kind of push the gospel out. I can give one example. It was really cool. It happened last week. It seems like whenever a student has a family member that goes through a suicide or a really hard death, they're not Christians, but they always come to me asking, like, what happens? Like, where did they go? And then that opens the door. So I had a senior who, his friend from North Carolina committed suicide at 17. And he was just totally upset. And I've talked to him every day about it. And we're on Zoom. And he pops in Zoom. And he always comes in early. And he's got a Bible out. And it's King James Version. And he's like, Mr. Muck, I don't know how to read this. Like, what is going on here? And I'm like, hey, I'll give you a Bible next time I see you on Wednesday, because we're hybrid. And I gave him a life book, if you know what that is, the book of John.
Yeah.
And he's going to start reading that in a few weeks, because he said he can't read 2 books at once, and we're reading a book for class. So he's got to wait a few more weeks to start it. But this is a kid that knows nothing. His name, well, actually, I probably shouldn't say names, should I? But
Sure.
just a really cool opportunity. That's kind of my joy being a Christian as a public teacher.
So from showing up consistently in his life during something that was so tragic and doesn't know how to make heads or tails of it, and you being there and buying trust in his life, now he's actually considering Jesus for the first time. Wow. But so how did the King James Version come into play?
He has his grandma or grandpa is really religious,
Okay.
as he would say, and they gave him a Bible. But I guess that his grandparents are very strict and kind of like throw the gospel at people, very like do it this way or not at all kind of thing. So he was a little intimidated to get into the Bible because of that.
Sure.
So I gave him a resource that is as comforting to teenagers that I can think. It's the Bible, but it has commentary from teenagers. So it's kind of like you're not reading it by yourself, and you don't feel stupid while you're reading it because it gives all the extra information that you might not have.
So that's awesome. I didn't know that
Yeah,
story.
that's a new thing that happened the last couple weeks, and it's over Zoom too. Do you guys have Zoom classes? Who has a Zoom class? Do you guys go in early to class and talk to your teachers on Zoom? Some of you do.
Some of
One
you.
person. Okay.
They're not Brandon Muck.
See, that's the only time I get to actually interact with students. So I make sure as soon as one class ends, I start my next class because I get 8 minutes to talk about whatever.
Wow.
So
Be intentional.
do that with your teachers. They'll give you better grades too, I'm sure.
Advice from the horse's mouth right there. Teacher himself. That's awesome. So, speaking of students and their busyness, right? That was my next question. Students can find themselves really, really busy. We've talked about this. You've talked to some students that have a personal relationship with Jesus, but it seems like what's catching on with this generation, students I know as well, they feel like they have the personal relationship with Jesus, but why do I have to go to church? Or why do I have to commit myself to a community of faith if I do have that personal relationship with Jesus? What do you think is the motivation there right now and the thinking there? Because we believe that it is important to have a community of faith, both at school, if you have one, awesome, like an FCA, and both at a local church.
Yeah. I think it's lots of different reasons. I think a lot of it just depends on the environment of the youth group. I mean, if you guys go to this church, like you guys are spoiled. You guys are lucky to have a room that's your own. You guys have your own youth pastor, but not all churches are that way. I was talking to Peyton, and Peyton said that they don't have a youth pastor. They just let him go, and he's one of 3 high school kids. So I think that a lot of my FCA students just don't have the staff and support at the church that would interest them. So kudos to you. I mean, this is awesome that you run this. I think another big thing is home life. If you don't see your parents going to church, why would you? You think it's just an extra thing that is a waste of time. I think those would be the biggest ones. And then I also know that people that are athletes, who are athletes in here? Do we have any people who play sports? Do you guys have sports on Sunday? Sometimes? No? Okay.
Orchestra, though, right? We have orchestra on Sundays
different
now.
events, something.
Yeah.
I think that's another big thing. Because these are public school kids, they participate in activities that aren't church-minded. We can't all work at Chick-fil-A where we have Sundays off. But yeah, I think that schedule conflict is a big deal. I mean, we even struggle with that for FCA. We literally meet 15 minutes before school. The one day a week we show up at school, but a lot of students don't have to be there. So are they going to come to school for just those 15 minutes and then go home? So we've struggled with our numbers mainly this year just because it's not practical. But if we push that it's important, and who cares if it's practical, it's something that you're kind of called to do as a Christian, and it benefits you in so many ways. I think that's what we need to push to our teenagers. I know for me, growing up in a youth group, I didn't have friends at high school. My friends were in my youth group, and I think for me that's why my heart has always been with youth groups, because I know how important it is. But I know sometimes in a youth group they'll use the excuse, a student will use the excuse, they don't have friends in the youth group, but you can always make friends. I feel like that's a life skill, make friends anywhere. So I think that would be another one. But same question to you, what add to that list? I'm curious what you think.
Well, I was thinking like 2 days ago when I was texting some parents, just to say, hey, how are you doing? Sometimes when I text a bunch of parents and say, how's it going? How's the household? How are the kids? They'll be like, oh gosh, I'll send the kid to youth group right this Sunday. I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm not trying to guilt you. I'm just trying to see how you're doing. And one parent sent me a long text back about what they expected to come for their student this year as they enter high school. They're like, it looks like Sunday nights is now going to be covered with X, Y, and Z extracurriculars. Could you move it back to Wednesday night? And I'm like, I just moved it to Sunday night because I'm trying to avoid the Wednesday night extracurriculars. And I just threw my hands up and I'm like, I can't, this job's impossible. I can't, these kids are not getting paid like they should, apparently, to go to school and do all this stuff for 12 hours a day. And now schools are using Sundays. They're like, hey, now you're doing practice on a Sunday night. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I thought that would be what was open. So it is frustrating. And I think that's also like our culture, I think, decides those things come first because you have to put that on your college resume. Or at least that's what my parents, and I think even some parents today are still pushing, especially in Avon. Like, it's such an excellent labeled school. Most of our students go to Avon here. And you have to feel, like they do, feel the pressure to have to compete with the kid sitting next to them and to do all the extracurriculars to get it on their college application. That's what I think it is. And so I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that happens. And then it ends up being, oh, by the way, our practice is Sunday. And then what happens is church actually takes the back seat, whereas the extracurricular takes the front.
I wish that those parents and students would realize that church is an excellent way to build your resume for colleges. All my community service was through church. I had thousands of hours, and I didn't even realize they were hours while I was doing them.
Noah's not here tonight, but he plays guitar for our worship band, and
That's an hour every Sunday, 2 hours.
Yeah, he's already added that to his resume, that he served with the worship team and with our student leadership group. Edwin back there, Luke back there running sound and slides for us. They can add that. We had a student go to Bowling Green. Now it's probably 2 years ago because 2020 feels like the Thanos snap to me, and I'm now in a new year. And he went to BG, and he had all this stuff from being on leadership team here to put on his Bowling Green resume, or application. So that, definitely. You don't have to give up church to have something great on your resume. We want to be on mission. We should be on mission more than any extracurricular activity you can have in our community. So that's the hope and dream there, but the busyness is crazy. But I think students need to learn how to prioritize and how to kind of mitigate the busyness. And you guys are pretty busy. Like I just mentioned, you're a full-time English teacher, plus you're leading the FCA, plus you're doing video for your boss over there. So how do you do it and keep being a part of a community of faith, still part of your everyday, element to your week? Because it is important, guys. It is very important to know that you don't just have a personal relationship with Jesus. That's an individualistic idea, which we've talked about with a lot of you these past few months. You are purchased into a community that is a just community that loves faithfulness and mercy and justice. And we're to be those people in community, not just by ourselves. So how are you with all that? I know you're not in school and but you do have somebody telling you what to do, apparently. A boss over there. How do you navigate all the busyness with that and keep it center?
My first answer is I don't know.
For the grace of God.
Right. So I don't know, I just kind of view, I compartmentalize a lot of what I do, and I make sure that when I'm working on one thing, I'm focused on just that, and I keep working till that's done. Whenever we do a wedding, I take over the computer first for like 8 to 10 hours, and I probably don't stop until I'm done because I just get addicted to it. It's weird. I don't know. I don't even understand. But I'll listen to the same song that I'm putting into the video. I'll listen to it 100 times, and it'll be in my brain for the rest of the week. And she's telling me to turn my sound off, and I'm getting in trouble while I'm trying to edit. But I think a lot of it is that I do what I enjoy doing. I think everything I do with my job, I enjoy, except grading. But no one will ever know that they got their papers graded 2 weeks late. That's the awesome part about being a teacher. Sorry if your teachers turn your stuff in late, or return your stuff late. But like another thing that I do, and Claire's actually going with me, is I lead the international service trips through our school, and a lot of FCA students go, and it turns into a mission trip. So
cool.
we actually got our trip approved for Costa Rica this summer. So I'm taking 9 students there.
That's epic.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It was like last week that the superintendent said, okay, you can go. But I think the way that I get things done is I enjoy doing them. The stuff with photography is easy because I enjoy it, and I don't want to make Brittany mad at me. So my boss, is a little more than just my boss. So there's some motivation there.
You guys okay?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
I'm just messing. He's just exaggerating, right?
But it's funny though, because I book all her stuff now. So she's like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you have a session today. What? Like, yeah, go to work.
Surprise.
So she's the boss, but sometimes it feels the opposite. But
Right on.
yeah, so I think just compartmentalizing and enjoying what I do. I think that because when I don't enjoy it, I'm very good at doing something last minute too. So I think that's how I get by with the stuff I don't enjoy. I just wing it. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes being backed in the corner makes you the most creative, and most deadlines make me the most creative and get things done. So
yeah.
I get that. But I think I'm hearing from that too is guys, like, have the real hard conversation with your parents if you're not passionate about one of these many extracurriculars you're stuck doing. Maybe they just think that you like doing it, but you don't. And it's time to say, I don't like this thing, and can I cut it out, especially so I can have this compartment of my life open up. I think that'd be an important conversation to have with some parents. So, but I also do think it's important to continue to grow in your skill. If you're a musician, if you're an athlete, like, I want both for you. I want your spiritual growth, and I want those things as well to grow. So help me help you figure out how to do that, right? And Brandon too with the FCA group. And I didn't know about the international trip idea. That is really cool that you guys are doing. So
I've led 2 trips.
2 trips so far.
Already, Ecuador and the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
We were going to go to Thailand, but that got canceled.
Okay.
But I kind of have it worked out where it's every year now. So I got to plan my next 2 trips. That's on my to-do list.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Help us
So if anyone
get on
wants
those
to go.
trips. Yeah. What's up, Caden? We go to Cancun or?
So I have a lot of students that creatively fundraise. So yes, you can go for free, but you have to work.
No, you fundraise.
Yes. Yes.
You know
Yes.
it. You ran a lemonade stand for that. You know what it is. All right, we're almost done here. But speaking of this on mission idea, especially internationally, that's cool. But that leads into my next question. How are you coaching students to be on mission in their school at North Ridgeville High School? How are they on mission? What have been some of your favorite stories of students coming to faith? Maybe that gentleman you mentioned earlier. But anybody else too? Maybe taking steps toward Jesus as you guys are on mission.
Yeah. I think the most powerful example I can remember from FCA was actually when, I don't know if Jillian was involved, a former student that went to this youth program. We were actually going through a teacher soft strike, which means the teachers were striking, but not to the point where we weren't showing up to school. We were walking in right when we were supposed to and leaving right when we were supposed to make them realize they need us more than they pay us for. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. And FCA was meeting before school, so that meant I couldn't be there. And I had, Claire, were you there for that? Were you a freshman?
I was a freshman, yeah. Mikey Richmond left.
Yeah. So there were, and Peyton must have been there too then, because it would have been, no, because Peyton's a junior. Never mind, that would have been a year before him. But without really directing the students, because I just told them, like, guys, I'm actually not, we can't do FCA anymore before school. We're going to just have to take a break. And I guess a few of them got together, and they came to me after I told them that, and they were like, no, we're not taking a break. It's like, what can we do? How can we get around this? So we actually went to the principal and figured it out, and they actually met in the hallway because they had to be supervised by teachers, but not if you're in the hallway. Students are just wherever. So they took a section of the hallway, and this was when we had a full classroom. I think we had like 30 to 40 kids. So we actually prevented traffic from flowing, which was great because kids would have to like snake through and hear students talking about God. And that was probably the most powerful moment for me in leading FCA was that actually having students take over and other students realizing that people their age do care about God, because there is this misconception that people at your age that love God only love God because your parents love God or they taught you to love God. But seeing that to me was like, wow, this is why I'm doing this, like giving these students the outlet to worship God. And they would sing, they would do all kinds, like it was intense. It was good. It was really good.
That's powerful, you guys. I love that. Awesome. Well, let's go to our last question for you here.
Yeah.
Connecting people to Jesus, that's our mission statement here at Hope. What specific ways do you teach students right now and that you could teach our students here how to grow in Christ and connect people to him?
I don't want to give the stereotypical answer. Pray, read your Bible.
Awesome.
Yeah, right. I mean, that is the right answer. But I think that what's most important and what I try to do is build community amongst teenagers, because so often when teenagers get together, they're doing bad things. That's the assumption because it's true. Would you guys agree? Like a head nod. Yeah. When you get together with your friends, worse things happen than if you were by yourself. You get into trouble. I don't know. It's fun, but it's not necessarily God-honoring. But when you get a group of Christian teenagers together, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes Christian teenagers are the most wild teenagers.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But sometimes you can actually have them push each other to realize that their faith is important to them, and that the Holy Spirit does live in their hearts, and that they can share the gospel with others. And I think that's what happened in that moment that I told you about that happened a few years ago. So that's what I try to push, because reading your Bible, that's hard to do. Like, I still struggle with that. But when I know when I am reading my Bible every day, I'm a different Brandon or Mr. Muck, whatever you want to call me. And you can definitely feel God's presence, and you can feel his love, and you can also be more motivated to doing things for him. Like back to that previous question, that's kind of where I get some of my motivation, is when I am in my word, in the Bible. So that's what I would challenge you guys with.
Wow. Well, I learned a lot tonight. I hope you guys learned a lot tonight and you're inspired. Let's give it up for Brandon or Mr. Muck.
Thank you.
That was awesome, man. That is a little bit of life, faith, and leadership through the eyes of Brandon or Mr. Muck. Mr. Muck? That sounds pretty cool. I like that. Well, guys, next week we have our creative arts pastor, David Swidrak, who's also a professional photographer as well. And yeah, back to back, right? So I'm excited to interview him and have you guys learn from him next week too. Say what's up if you have not yet to Peyton and Claire and Brittany and Brandon today on the way out. And please join us next week. And the FCA students, you guys are not, you don't have to just come on the 28th. You guys are totally invited. You're welcome here in these next weeks upcoming to that. And if you didn't yet, mark your calendars, March 28th, Sunday night, March 28th. The FCA students are going to do a takeover here, so don't forget that, all right?